هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Introduction to Islamic Mysticism by Ayatollah Mutahhari. And as we said in the previous session, now is the time for studying the lesson on some technical terms that mystics use, or in other words, we want to familiarize ourselves with the terminology of Islamic mysticism. And we already mentioned that for every discipline, it's very important to know their terminology, but especially for Irfan, because there are many ideas which are not very familiar to people, and also they had a habit to be secretive, at least many of them, because they were afraid of being misjudged or misinterpreted. And also some of them had a kind of approach that they deliberately wanted to be blamed, malamatiyya. So sometimes they used things in the way that could give the impression to the other person that they are not religious, they are not, pious, but indeed this was just to kill their own ego. Okay, now let's see some of the terms. These are only just some of the terms, and Ayatollah Mutahhari says that for the most part he would refer to Risale by Qushayri about definition and explanation of these terms. The first term is waqt. Waqt means time. Ibn Sina, in the 9th section of Al-Isharat wa Tanbihat, had some usage of waqt, but now we are not concerned about that kind of usage. What normally mystics say about waqt is that the mystic should be very attentive to the present moment. And by present moment, they don't just mean what is happening outside us. What is important for them is also what happens inside the mystic, and what would be proper response to those things that happen inside the mystic at that particular time. Maybe another mystic would be in another situation and he would be expected to do differently, or even the same person in another time may have another waqt, means another condition, and he may behave differently. So this is the meaning of waqt. Mawlavi Rumi says, Sufi ibn al-waqt bashad ay rafiq. Sufi ibn al-waqt bashad ay rafiq. نیست فردا گفتن از شرط طریق. Sufi is the child of the moment, of this time. O friend, means, O friend, be aware that Sufi is very much concerned about the present time. Not in the sense of being opportunist, not in the sense that they also want to enjoy themselves in the present time, because sometimes this is used in literature, and even some mystics use this to give a wrong impression, malamatiyya. That, for example, just be concerned about now and forget the rest of the problems in future, what is going to happen in future, forget the past. But this is on the surface. The reality is that they mean you must appreciate the time that you have. We have actually this in the hadith. ما فات مضى وما يأتيك فأين. The past has expired, has gone. Future has not yet come. فاغتنم الفرصة بين العدمين. So take and grab the opportunity between two adam, two non-existence. The past, which doesn't exist anymore, future, which has not yet come. This is the right approach. Not in the sense that we only enjoy ourselves now, we don't think about consequences. For example, gambling, or driving very fast, not carefully, eating, for example, too much, getting drunk. Just for the time being, let's enjoy and then don't think about its consequences in future. No, this is not what they mean, although sometimes maybe they speak in this way, but this is not what they mean. What they mean is that appreciate the moment. Don't let it pass without you utilizing it. So صوفی ابن الوقت باشد ای رفیق. نیست فردا گفتن از شرط طریق. It's not one of the conditions and requirements of this path and this journey to say, I will do it tomorrow, to delay, to postpone. Appreciate your present moment. Hafiz is one of those people who has been sometimes criticized by some people that thought he is a person who is just saying enjoy yourself at the right time being right now. Don't worry, don't think about what people tell about you, just enjoy yourself. They think this is Hafiz's real position. No, this is not his real position. This is what he may say, but he doesn't mean it in that way. He means that do whatever is right at the moment, not do whatever is just giving you pleasure at the moment. And he himself in some other places has made it clear. He has clarified this, and if you want to understand him, you have to put all these things together. For example, he says, من اگر باده خورم ورنه چه کارم با کس. حافظ راز خود و عارف وقت خویشم. Whether I drink wine or not, I have nothing to do with other people. It's none of my business what people say and do. I am protecting my own secret, and I am arif of my own waqt. Means I am focusing on the present moment for me, what I have to do now. It's not important for me what other people think about me, and it's not important, for me what they do themselves. In another place he says, قدر وقت ار نشناسد دل و کاری نکند بس خجالت که از این حاصل اوقات بریم. If our heart does not know the value of waqt, of this moment, of this time, and doesn't do anything, if doesn't appreciate, doesn't know the value of this time, doesn't do anything, we will then have so much to be feeling embarrassed in future when we look at what we have achieved. So we have to make sure that we don't let our time pass by without us utilizing it. As sometimes, you might have heard from me that I heard the late Sayyid Abdullah Shubbar, who has tafsir and many books, akhlaq, ma'ad, many books. He had a frame, a writing in his library or his, a study room. الليل والنهار يعملان فيك فاعمل فيهما. Day and night act in you. Means they are affecting you. They are taking something from you. They are somehow consuming you. So you do also something in them. إن الإنسان لفي خسر. You are in loss. You are losing. Your capital is going. It's like someone who is selling ice in hot weather. If he doesn't get something in return, all the ice is melting and is useless. So, بس خجالت که از این حاصل اوقات بریم. So much embarrassment we should take with us because of the little what we have achieved in these times, these moments. سحرگه رهروی در سرزمینی همی گفت این معما با قرینی. At the time of Sahar, before dawn, before Fajr, Sahar is a great time for mystics, great time, and for those who are on the spiritual journey. So he says, in the time of Sahar, a wayfarer said a puzzle, a mu'amma puzzle, a quiz, to a companion, Qarin. Ke ay Sufi, because he was also a companion in this journey, so he was a Sufi. شراب آنگه شود صاف که در شیشه بماند اربعینی. He told his friend, who was also a wayfarer, that wine becomes very clear and transparent if remains in the bottle for 40 days. These 40 days also, please remember that we have the tradition of arba'in, chelle nashini. من أخلص لله 40 صباحا جرت ينابيع الحكمة من قلبه على لسانه. Whoever purifies himself for the sake of Allah for 40 days, fountains of wisdom will flow from his heart to his tongue. That chille neshini, that practicing arba'in as a spiritual practice is here likened to a wine which needs to stay for 40 days in the bottle, not to be opened, not to be touched, so that it becomes well developed, becomes very clear, very nice. خدا زان خرقه بیزار است 100 بار که 100 بت باشدش در آستینی. God is very much unhappy and displeased with that khirqa. Khirqa, as you remember, we had it, I think it was last week. It's the dress, we talked about, Sheikh San'an last week, that he had left his khirqa with the person who sells wine as a deposit, because he had borrowed money and was in debt to that person, so he had left there. So khirqa is very important. It's the dress of the Sufi, and especially the khirqa is on the Sufi master. So every order, they have a master, and their master of that time has the khirqa, has that special dress that it will be given to the successor. So although khirqa is very special, very holy for them, very sacred for them, But Hafiz says Allah is very much angry and unhappy with that khirqah that in its combs and sleeves are in its sleeves are 100 idols. This is a Muslim, this is a believer, this is a muwahhid, this is a Sufi, wayfarer in this journey, but this doesn't guarantee that we don't worship idols. Sometimes this Sufi, sometimes this even master maybe has 100 idols in sleeves.
Bismillah-in-Nur, Bismillah-in-Nur, Bismillah-in-Nur-in-Nur.
So we have to be very careful not to think that because we are surrounded by nice people or by other wayfarers, or we talk about these things, we practice these things, alhamdulillah, we have good feelings, we have good spirituality. This means that we are free from shirk. So the question is this, what is related to our discussion is this, that if we don't appreciate our time, we will feel embarrassed, and we would later see that we have totally gone to the wrong direction, even we have become like an idol worshipper. So the issue of waqt or time is very important. Qushayri says, we are using his Risala, Qushayri says that Sufi is the son or child of his own time, in the sense that he is trying to understand what has priority for him or her at that particular moment and then do it. Some people have said al-waqtu sayfun qati'. Time is a sharp sword, meaning that if you are not careful, it can injure you and can kill you if you are not paying attention to the time and don't do justice to the time and don't bring the requirements of the time. I would like to mention one extra point which I think is very important. Many people talk about living in the present, even when we have discussions with our Christian friends, they talk about living in the present moment. In Islamic spirituality, we saw that they very much speak about this. But I think this needs a clarification. Living in the moment in the sense that I try to fully appreciate particularities of this moment is very important. Maybe, for example, I have just finished a lecture. I come down from Minbar and maybe I am tired, for example. But one person comes and asks me a question. I can think about this moment in two ways. I say, I have had a long day, and also I just finished a lecture, and this is the time that I need some rest. So let me answer politely to this person, but finish it soon, because I'm very tired. This moment is part of a long day, and before that maybe I was traveling, whatever. And there are many other people also who may want to ask questions. So this is one way of looking at this. Another way is to say, this person maybe has no opportunity to see other scholars. Maybe has worked a lot on himself to feel not embarrassed and come and talk to me. Maybe he is not going to see me anymore. Maybe this question is a question that is very important, can change his life. Maybe this question is something that he had it for a long time. Maybe a proper answer can open lots of horizons for me. for me, these moments can happen many times, but for this person, that might be exceptional moment. If I think in this way, then I would behave differently. So we need to be careful about every moment and every action and every response that we want to give, by not underestimating that moment and say it's few seconds, few minutes out of 24 hours, and 24 hours out of a week, and week out of a month, month out of a year. So it's not that important. If I don't do well now, I can do another time. This is one point, which is very important. But another point is that don't let the difficulties of the moment make you too stressful or make you leave your decisions and your work because there is something difficult in that moment. Sometimes these moments come and go. So, for example, I am going to a meeting. We want to make a decision. And at the same time, I have sad memory of the previous meeting, or a phone call I had, or I had some issue with at home. So it's not a good moment for me. And I'm going to a meeting. What should I do? I should not let the negativities of that moment affect my presence in that meeting, affect my ability to listen actively, contribute actively. This is very important. Sometimes I say this by practice. For example, sometimes I have to go to a meeting, I have a lecture, I have a meeting, I have visitors, and unfortunately there is a delay. The driver has come late or taxi has come late. I am late. Okay, this is a problem that I am late. I should not be late, but it has happened. It was not my fault. But now, should I go with this feeling of, oh, what a bad thing that has happened, what an embarrassment, be nervous, even maybe get angry at the driver or the taxi. When I arrive there, people see I am, not happy. Or I should understand that whatever has happened has happened. I can, for example, apologize, but be very normal and very relaxed. So, what I want to say is that sometimes you have to come out of that moment so that we can do justice to the moment. Or you can say out of the previous moment and be doing justice in this moment. Or come out of a partition in your heart and mind and go to the another partition, because you have to do justice with the second one. So this is very important. I read something about Ayatollah Beheshti, that someone had said about him that he is such a person that if you tell him something which can make people very stressful and very sad, if you tell him something very sad and shocking today, he would say, tomorrow at 11 o'clock I will feel sad for this. It may look very funny or not good, but this was, I think, an exaggeration. But the point is this, that this man has this much of control over his feelings and his emotions, that at each moment he has a plan and focuses on that. He would not miss feeling sad for that point, trying to find a solution for that point. But this is not the right time, because then I am going to damage what I am doing now, and perhaps also by passage of time I would be in a better position to deal with that problem. So to appreciate your time, or waqt, is very, very important. The next term, which is connected to a very closely connected term, and therefore Ayatollah Mutahhari mentions two of them together, are hal and maqam. So number 2 is hal, number 3 is maqam. Hal is when a spiritual experience happens which is temporary. Something that, Ibn Sina was talking about waqt, but it's more hal in the terminology of others, and I explained over there. Hal is temporary. Sometimes you have very good connection in your prayer, in your salat, in your du'as. You feel very good. Sometimes, for a few days maybe you feel very good. Sometimes maybe for a few hours you feel very good. You are more spiritual, you are more tranquil, you are more, productive. Sometimes even your body is cooperating better with your soul. But this is not fixed. It goes away. Then you very much want it back, but it's not in your control. Then maybe sometimes, after some time, comes back. You do your best to keep it, but it's not in your hand. It comes and goes. This is hal. So it's a transient situation. Maqam is like a fixed position. It's something that has become almost permanent. Of course, not in the sense that it will remain forever, but it means that it's almost permanent in the sense that it's not transient. It stays with you unless a big change happens. Hafiz says that because they believe these hals are like flash of light, like thunder that has flash of light. Hafiz says برقی از منزل لیلا بدرخشید سحر. برقی, a flash, a thunder, came from the house of Layla. Layla is the beloved of Majnun. What time? Sahar. Again, you see Sahar for Hafiz and for many mystics. Sahar is very important. The time, the last part of the night before Fajr and a little bit after Fajr, but mostly before Fajr. So a light came from the house of Layla before Fajr. وه که با خرمن مجنون دلافکار چه کرد. God knows what this light coming from the house of Layla did to the heart of Majnun, which is already injured because of so much love that had for Layla, and no attention coming, no ability to meet, talk, be close. So the heart of Majnun was already injured, and now this light coming. How attractive is light. Even being in a dark night outside the house of Layla was amazing for Majnun. To just look at the house in the night was amazing. But now a light coming out from the window of the room of Layla, you can imagine what is going to happen. So they mean that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the darkness of our separation from Him, sends a light, a radiation comes and attracts us. For some time we are, very much overwhelmed with this beautiful experience, but it may go away because, that flash cannot remain. Flash is coming and going quickly. This was Hafiz. Sa'di says, in a very beautiful way, in a poetic language, and I will inshallah read for you the poem as well, that someone asked Prophet Yaqub, of course maybe this is a kind of imagination, someone asked Prophet Yaqub ala nabiyina wa alayhi wa salam, how it comes that when Yusuf was near you in that well, you didn't smell anything. Yusuf, when he was taken by his brothers outside their village or town, and then they put him in the well, it was very close to the house, but you didn't smell anything. But when the brothers were bringing the clothes, the shirt of Yusuf from Egypt, you said, Anni la'ajidu ra'ihata Yusuf. I find the fragrance of Yusuf. Lawla an tufannadun. So someone asked Yaqub alayhi salam, it's of course I said maybe imagination, if someone is going to ask this question, how Yaqub alayhi salam had two different experiences. Once he didn't smell anything, another time he smelled, and from much more farther away. And then Sa'di answers, he says the answer of Yaqub is that our conditions are like flash. Sometimes this flash of light comes, sometimes it doesn't come. We don't have control over it. Sometimes I understand from distance, sometimes I don't understand even if it is near. Look at this poem. یکی پرسید از آن گمگشته فرزند. Someone asked that person whose child was lost, means Yaqub alayhi salam, که ای روشن روان پیر خردمند. Oh, the one whose soul is bright, oh, the sage. ز مصرش بوی پیراهن شنیدی. بوی پیراهن شنیدی. چرا در چاه کنعانش ندیدی. From Egypt you understood, you smelled the fragrance of Yusuf from Egypt. Why when he was in the well in Canaan, the same place, you didn't find Yusuf, you didn't smell anything, you didn't hear anything, you didn't experience anything? بگفتا, he replied, حال ما برق جهان است. حال ما, we were talking about حال and maqam. حال, that transient situation, condition. He said our حال, our condition is برق جهان. It's like the thunder which gives one flash of light, or maybe 2-3 quickly. دمی پیدا و دیگر دم نهان است. For a moment it's visible, another moment it's not visible. گهی بر طارم اعلا نشینیم، گهی تا پشت پای خود نبینیم. Sometimes we are sitting in a very high position, sometimes we cannot even see behind our own foot. اگر درویش در حالی بماندی، سر و دست از دو عالم برفشاندی. If Darwish, if the Sufi, if the wayfarer was able to remain in that hall forever, he could go above both worlds. We are losing that hall. Otherwise, if he could stay in that hall, he could go higher than the whole worlds. I just remembered a hadith that some companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, why when we are with you we feel very good, we feel very spiritual, we feel we are very light, very much detached from dunya, but then when we go out again everything becomes normal. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said something in this line. I'm not remembering the exact wording, but something in this line, that if you had remained in that condition, you could have shaken hands with the angels. If you remained in that condition. Unfortunately, we have lots of ups and downs. In a sense, this can be good, because then we realize that it's not us. So you don't become proud of yourself. You rely more on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe it's also difficult for us to cope with normal life and always being in that condition. But over time, we have to build our capacity so that we can have those conditions more frequent, and then inshallah permanent, and also be able to do justice to our family social responsibilities, inshallah. In Nahj al-Balagha, we quoted this hadith in the beginning when we wanted to say that Islamic mysticism is inspired by Quran and hadith. We had this قَدْ أَحْيَا عَقْلَهُ وَأَمَاتَ نَفْسَهُ حَتَّى دَقَّ جَلِيلُهُ وَلَطُفَ قَلِيلُهُ وَبَرَقَ لَهُ لَامِعٌ كَثِيرُ الْبَرْقِ, has revived his intellect and killed his nafs, his soul, his ego. So much so that then his heart and inner self became very gentle, very soft, very light, and then a thunder came, which is giving lots of radiations and lots of light. So these terminologies that they have and the discussions that they have are rooted in the Quran, in the Hadith of the Prophet, and also Imam Ali alayhi salam and other Imams. Inshallah, in the next session, we will continue with the rest of terms. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the soul of Ayatollah Mutahhari and his teachers and students, and whoever benefits from his works, his books, his lectures. May Allah inshallah preserve for us our maraja, our ulama, our scholars. May Allah give tawfiq to seekers of knowledge to continue without a stop their search for truth, their search for knowledge. And may Allah inshallah give barakah and tawfiq to all of you to pursue your path towards nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.